It's been a few months now since the film was released, and we've seen sort of powerful reaction to Blue Beetle, not just for being a superhero movie, but also to the representation of this culture. What has been one of your most personal reactions from people talking about this film that still stays with you when it comes to talking about the experience that exists within the Latino community?
Man, I think in one screening that we showed up, for fun, um, a couple kids, but this one kid gave me a hug and started crying because he never thought that he was ever going to see um, not only his community represented that way, but also um, family members that reminded him of his own family uh, being heroes. It felt like it was like he saw his family and he saw them the way he sees them as heroes in his life, and it gave him like a he said like it relived him, like it gave him like a energy that there is hope in the future to see more stories like this. So for me, that meant a lot. And also seeing all the young kids on social media, you know, dressing up as Blue Beetle with the mask and with the suit, uh, or reacting to the trailer. Like I want to see that because, I grew up watching heroes, but I never saw a hero that looked like me, that spoke like me, that had a family like mine. And what that would do in the future to the collective psyche, I think is very positive. And that for me was like, oh my gosh, like that level of impact on a young kid is in their formative years is very positive.
And now there's the Blue Beetle Battalion. Everyone in the world is part of this beautiful battalion. And as a big DC Comics fan myself, when I was going through the features on the home release and looking at the Blue Beetle generations, you guys were able to incorporate so much of Dan and Ted into this mythology, but while also leaving room for more. Was there anything that you guys weren't able to include from either of those two characters' mythologies that you really wanted to feature, but just ran out of time?
Not really. I think that we wanted to leave some stuff for sequels and other movies, because there's so much to this mythology that exists. We did reference as much as we could, from like Dan Garrett, which is like way older in this universe. We do have his suit and we do have his archaeology books. Like if you watch the movie again, you're gonna see archaeology books by Dan Garrett. But even the way, Jaime doesn't have to do it, but the way he summons Kajida at one point is a reference to the way Dan Garrett used to summon Kajida's power in the early comics. And with Ted Cord, I think the one that we couldn't, that we ended up not doing was, because we have the bug ship, we have the trapeze, we have like a bunch of stuff. But the Ted gun,
Oh yeah.
if you pay attention, you see Jenny picking it up at one point, and we had this whole thing of it playing out towards the end of the movie, but we opted to go on a different direction. So I think that was the one. But the good thing is that Ted Cord has an insane amount of gadgets that
Yes.
hopefully if he comes in the near future, we can have a lot more fun with it. We did a lot of designs for different Ted Cord weapons and different Blue Beetle weapons that we didn't use in this movie, that hopefully we're able to get them out of the closet for the next one.
Thinking about the future, because we have that massive post-credit scene with Ted Cord, and I know everyone is, of course, wanting to see Ted and Jaime's interaction. But in your head, do you know what the reunion will look like between Ted and Jenny? Because that's a father-daughter relationship that a lot of people, I'm definitely wanting to see more of and wonder more about.
Well, definitely, our initial joke with it was, like Jaime and Jenny are, would be in the bug layer, and he showed up, and they're like, "Who are you?" I'm like, "Who are you?" Like, "Dad, that's your dad." Like the whole like the whole thing between them. But I think by doing it this way, it kind of like opens up more of a curiosity to, well, where is he and why is he sending this message today and why did he leave? What did he go out to do? And I think it opens a lot of the doors. And for me, I always like the idea of, of him and Booster Gold doing adventures, and then this message is sent as a warning of something that eventually Booster Gold is the one that's able to bring Jaime to the mix, or Ted Cord to the mix with his time traveling power. So for me, it's one of those things that I'm like, definitely Booster Gold and Ted Cord. I want them to be a part of Jaime's future. Um, yeah, I think that's the one that I like. I know there's a lot more that exist in all the different iterations, but the Blue and Gold series is phenomenal, and their relationship is really, really awesome. So and a lot of the Jaime relationship with both of them are iconic. So I hope it goes that way.
Well, we know. Well, how funny that we have a Booster Gold TV show coming. James Gunn is doing his
Exactly.
thing. Have you? He's talked about that Blue Beetle, that Jaime story will continue with the new DC universe. Don't get me swore, but have you talked to James? Like, do you know what your next thing is with DC? Like, do you have you talked to him about what you want to do with Jaime next?
Yeah. We have had conversations about it, and that's where he mentioned to me the Booster Gold show that's gonna come up. Now, where does it fit? How is it gonna play out? We haven't talked about that, but we both have talked about, our interest in continuing Jaime's story and finding a way for that story to be a part of this new universe. And although he had already said that Blue Beetle is the first hero of his universe, it was very reassuring to know that Xolo Maridueña is going to still play Blue Beetle, which means that what we were able to enjoy and absorb in this movie serves as a foundation to the character of Jaime as he embarks into this new world.
Blue Beetle is historical for being the first Latino superhero movie, which hopefully will pave the way for more Latino superheroes and characters in general to get their stories told. What do you hope as a director is the biggest takeaway that Hollywood executives out there will take from Blue Beetle that will hopefully get more greenlighting of other superhero stories based in the Latino world? What would you want to say about that?
Like it's okay to let other cultures be their own authentic self. It's especially when their cultures are not monolith. There's so many more stories to tell within our communities and also with other communities from other cultures. And for me, it's always been a thing about when you let us tell our stories authentically without fear of the unknown, of the other. Sometimes we can find way more connection than we would if society keeps trying to force what the Latino should be. And same goes with other cultures. Like, I think by embracing who we authentically are, we're able to connect with more people than if we try to be fake about it. So hopefully, not only on the superhero genre and other stories, the diversity in stories is one of the things that I like the most about cinema. World cinema was the one thing that made me fall in love with storytelling and finding how I can connect with stories from Korea, with stories from the Middle East, with stories from England. I'm from Puerto Rico, and I connected with stories from the US. I think that we can all connect with our own authentic self. And I think by opening that door, and what they consider risk, I consider obvious. I don't think it's a risk at all to embrace who you truly are and let communities tell the story the way they should tell the stories, because we will connect with them.
And my final question, I was so sad to hear about the passing of Keith Giffen, who his contribution is the reason why we're able to sit here today and talk about Blue Beetle. Do you have any experience you would like to share, whether it's reading from his materials or having actually met him during this process?
I didn't have the opportunity to meet him during this process. I did meet a lot of his team around him, and a lot of the work that he put into the comics are part of our stories as well. We did take a lot from the stuff that he brought into it and incorporate it into not just the storytelling, but even the design of things, the way things played out, and being able to collaborate in a sense, even though if it wasn't a face-to-face collaboration, but honoring his legacy by embracing his impact and translating it into the live action world. For me, it's an honor to work with people from that caliber. And I only hope that continues. There's so many people I admire and I respect, and I love paying that type of tribute to the people that form us.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for telling the story. Thank you for this movie. And as a brown man myself, seeing finally more brown superheroes out there, Blue Beetle is an unforgettable experience, and I hope to talk to you in the future. I hope that you get to do more with Blue Beetle, more DC characters. I'm still waiting to see what you were going to do with Bane, because that keeps coming up. So I hope you have a wonderful day. Congratulations on what has been a unique, extraordinary film that you and your team made
for
the world.
Much. Thank you so much, man. I hope that happens too, and I hope that a lot of more people are able to tell their stories their own way.